Hey, welcome to Cards and Comics, and today I am going to do another mail day. It's going to be a short one. I've been active, getting some cards, a few comics. Prices are kind of stabilizing a little bit, and someone asked, I think it was a Northeast Ohio um, collector, said something about, what would you do if all cards go to zero, comics go to zero? And, you know, I've lived through this once before, guys. You know, people think that the 90s went to zero. I think that is one of the most silly things for people to remember about the 90s. Cards did not go to zero. There was Mickey Mantle cards and vintage cards and pre-war cards were still really valuable in the 90s and early 2000s. So, the crash, from, we don't even know when the crash happened. I think it happened around 94, 95 when it really started to see people kind of realize that things are just getting out of hand with the amount of products. But I don't think it was till like 97, 98 that we really saw things go down. Um, but that's just my recollection of where I was at in collecting. Now, you know, um, you know, um, the actual hobby itself still survived. There was card shows, there was hobby shops. People still bought and sold stuff. It was just on a lower scale, and I'll give you kind of an idea. But first card up, this is a Lyle Alzado rookie card. Kind of cool. Just you know, I like collecting cards like just cool Hall of Famer, or I don't know, I'm sure he's a Hall of Famer or not, but just a cool rookie card. And yeah, I don't have it yet, so it's in the collection. Going to go in the 70s Hall of Fame or good players. I don't know. I should know that. I don't. I don't know my football Hall of Famers like I do my baseball. But yeah, that's the thing that's funny is like this is how I used to say it. And when I would set up a card shows back in, let's say, 2002. When, let's say, the hobby was considered dead or dying or not really doing well. And, PSA had come around. Vintage was picking back up again. And even though modern was kind of floundering in 90, in 2000, 98, 99, 2000, that time period, um, I still think there was a lot of really hardcore vintage guys out there, and I think PSA really helped drive the vintage market back into relevancy. So I think it was always there, and it's just what you collected. The problem that people want to talk about today is this. What's different then versus now is that in 2000, you could not go out and buy a box of hobby cards and do anything with the cards after you bought them. You just put the set together, and there was very little value in that box. Even if you pulled some inserts, the inserts were crap, the cards were crap, the rookies weren't worth much, and it was kind of just something you did for fun. The harder to get stuff, and the rookies were all, and the harder to get rookies, and like the Pujols rookie auto in 2001 was always a good card. As soon as he became popular, that card shot up in value. It was harder to find value because it had to be rare and it had to be something of somebody really good to be worth anything. It was just either worth a lot or nothing. There was very little in between back in those days. 97 Bowman's Best Refractor, Atomic Refractor Aikman. These are just cool inserts. I think all these atomics are just awesome. And this is just one of those. He's a Hall of Fame player. I know that. And good player, good team, and really cool can insert. I'd love to have the Barry Sanders in that card. I don't know what it would cost, but just a thought, that card would be cool with Barry Sanders on it. It's 97, so there's no Manning in that year, but be cool to have somebody like Barry, on it. It would be awesome. But yeah, like going to card shows and setting up in those days, we'd always have this kind of theory is, you know, there wasn't $200 in the room, and that was kind of what we'd say is like most card shows, if you can make your table money back and take home $50, $60, you were doing good. Um, there wasn't somebody in there just buying everything. There were some cards available that were cool, but it was tough. It was definitely a lot more low key. And yeah, so that's when you say the hobby's dead. That's what I remember the hobby being dead. It was go to a card show, and most people were spending $50 or $60 looking to fill in holes in sets that were worth crap, and everyone was kind of just doing things on the micro scale. There was always these guys collecting on the high end. They were always there. I mean, like, and the vintage stuff was there, PSA was there, grading was there, but it was mostly in vintage. Like modern grading hadn't kicked in. That really drove the value of some of these, cheaper base cards. So, the hobby has changed in that way that the cheaper base cards are now worth something, and you know, but we're seeing the death of that. So it's changing again because PSA is like telling you guys, hey, no more cheap base cards because we want to grade the big ticket items and charge more money for them because every card that goes through that grader's hand needs to be bringing in more value, and grading $9 submission, $2 Jordan 15th year cards is not what they want to do. So that's what we're seeing, and that is changing the hobby even now. So here is a Tom Brady insert. I believe it is 2002 tops, which is cool. So it's a really early tops, Hobby Masters. These are shiny refractor light cards. This is a really dingy holder, which is fine. I'll change it. It's in a one screw holder, not a one touch holder, and maybe that'll help us shiny it up a little bit. It's a cool card. I think these cards are kind of undervalued. I don't know why these earlier tops inserts aren't quite worth more, because tops didn't they quit running out of Tom Brady cards pretty quick. Now to the comic book portion of this mail day. I'll try to blow the camera back a little bit so you can see. And we have a Caliber Presents #1, which is the official first appearance of the Crow. And it is in a spiffy 9.2 grade. Never had this book before. I'll bring it down here a little bit. Maybe you can see it a little bit closer. You can see where it says, "Whoa, first appearance of the Crow." All right, I'll quit messing with you. So, yeah, no vintage for the most part. Well, I guess the 72 Lyle is 80. Heck, vintage used to be everything had to be like pre-70. So now, like, I see people opening packs of 91 Upper Deck. I'm going, this is vintage. Yeah, love to see the vintage opening. Oh, 91 Upper Deck. When I was collecting 72 tops, it would have been non-vintage. So yeah, it changes every year. What people think is vintage, but the hobby's always changing. But that's cool. Like, I think this book is a little undervalued. Now, the cool thing of this book, if you've never had it, is if you flip it over, you get this really awesome Crow back cover. Love that. So, obviously, if this was the cover, this issue, since it's the first appearance, would be worth even more. So Crow 1 is generally more valuable, and I think it probably may even be printed in less quantity. But in general, it's because it's got a cooler cover. This has no Crow on the cover. It's all on the back. But the back cover is really spiffy. So, like it, goes into modern keys. I guess you could say Bronze Age modern keys, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so back to the final question on, like everything going to zero, right? So the quick answer is it's not ever. Everything is never going to zero. Vintage, stuff that is rare will always be worth something. So, the people that are going to get hurt, like I've said before, is if you're taking $2 cards and turn them into $50 cards, and the really common Prism base cards, yeah, that's going to go to zero. That's the stuff that's going to go the worst. So, it's just how it is. So, if you think that your Prism base cards that pops of 2,000-3,000 and PSA 10 are going to be the one surviving this, if it does kind of tear down, no, yeah, that's the stuff that's going to go down. The really rare stuff of the best players in the best grades, always going to be worth something, and generally are going to be protected. So that's my opinion, and this is my short little mail day. Hope you had fun, and I'll be back at you with some bigger cards and even some modern autographs that I've been looking for that I think you'll be interested in. So stay tuned next time. Bye.